What you see here in the pictures are the two isolated vilas that are cut off through that massive landslide that has buried Blatten. They were part of the greater Blatten area, and they're only accessible by helicopter right now. So they're bringing in machinery to build temporary roads for the construction workers, and they also need to reconnect them to electricity and water. Right now, everything is only accessible by helicopter. The military is receding at the moment. They're leaving their equipment in the area, but they can't do anything right now. It's still too dangerous. So here are the latest pictures from Blatten. News from Blatten: there were a few people that were able to go back to isolated homes. They call this villa. These are right now inaccessible. They had to be flown there by helicopter. So not a village, they're like single houses on the mountain slopes. And I want to show you a new high resolution satellite picture which really outlines what is going on there and what has happened. So look at this picture. You see the massive landslide here, and here you see the Kleiner Nesthorn. There was the mountaintop where it originated. And the interesting thing is, if we zoom in here, you can really see how this broke off here, how much rock and how much mountain broke off here, and it's still breaking off. We still have some rock slides every day, and they break off that mountain and then they land here. And this is where the glacier was, and where all the debris that broke off here, where you really see it's a hole. It's quite substantial what broke off there. You can see it here on the edges, how deep this goes down there. You can also see it here. And it's still unstable. There's still rocks breaking off. You see the dust here, and it's coming down here. And then it's landing like on a balcony. And this was where the glacier was, basically. It was putting too much weight and it brought the glacier down. And there you can really see the destruction of how this was all breaking down. The glacier was getting loose. It was breaking off. So where the mountain was connected with the glacier, that was infiltrated, of course, underneath by water that acted like a lubricant, and on top from all the weight that came from here. But let's look further down. So you see how this was sliding, how this was carving through the mountain really violently. There's no forest left, nothing anymore. It was destroying everything in its path. And then really massively, you see that huge amount carving through that mountainside and then coming into the valley. And basically everything that you see here, this is already the next side of the valley. This is steep slope. This goes uphill. So you see these little villages there. There was a photographer that actually filmed when everything came down. And then he decided that he was leaving because he saw this wall of dust and debris coming towards him. And so there you go. There is the road. This is basically at the base of the valley. And this is how far this has been pushed up the mountainside on the other side. There was a road here too, up in the valley. And you see, there's debris, there's logs, there's dust everywhere. How violently it has pushed towards the other side. And then, of course, underneath all this rubble, there is Blatten. And then we see on the edges, that's basically what's left of Blatten. This is this lake. So the water level of the lake, they said, has come down a little bit. Minimal is how they call it. So it's not that we don't see it on this satellite picture. The river here has carved a way through this debris cone right now. It is flowing, but this lake here is not substantially coming down. The water levels are a little bit lower. And then there you see the next village. And if we zoom into that, there you can see the Lonza, the river that is now flowing through that debris cone. We can see it here. Yeah, it's coming through lots of debris there. So we will have to wait and see what is coming out of it. And It's still unclear whether they can rebuild Blatten or where they can be rebuilt Blatten. The questions are rising right now. Well, is the whole valley safe or not? So I mentioned that around a dozen people of residents were allowed on Thursday of two hamlets in the Valais mountain village of Blatten were able to visit their homes, but only for a very short period of time. And also the security situation around this landslide right now does not yet allow any cleanup work. So 13 residents of the hamlets of Eisten and Weißenried were airlifted by helicopter to their homes. The Lötschental Regional Command Staff said that they were able to pick up urgently needed supplies for over a period of about an hour. So documents that they needed, medication, whatever. So although these individual visits to homes were possible, the situation in the landslide area remained too precarious to do anything. It's very, very unstable. And the debris flow danger in the valley remained unchanged compared to the previous day. So it's still high. And when these cleanup operations will effectively begin, will be continuously assessed based on the safety situation. That's what the command staff is saying. And we still have Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, small debris flow that is occurring on the debris cone. They're landing on that debris cone, on that landslide area where the former Birch Glacier was. So far, it did not extend beyond the former glacier bed. We also know that there's a collection of water collecting in that area that is mixing with all that debris. And a good news for the residents of the neighboring communities, they are allowed to return to their homes. So the evacuation of the residential zones in the municipalities downstream of Vila, Verden, this is where the dam is, and Kippel has been lifted. The evacuation of the commercial zone in Vila has also been lifted. And residents of the municipalities can return to their homes starting today, this afternoon. So this is really, really good news. And now the question rises, who's going to pay for the damages? There's neighboring communities that are donating money. And, you know, Switzerland is divided in cantone, like sort of provinces. And the government said, well, usually the government doesn't step in and help out with money. It's usually each canton that needs to help. But they had a press conference today, and it looks like due to the severity of the catastrophe, that hopefully they can make an exception. Because the cost of this damage, it could result in like several 100 million franken. But legally, there is no basis for the federal government to provide direct aid. That's what was said from Federal President Karin Keller-Sutter today in a press conference. And I'm sure the residents were kind of shocked when they heard that. And it's kind of scary. I'm like, oh my God, will I be left with nothing? But she said in such an extraordinary situation, the federal government must also be able to help. A sign of solidarity is necessary. So they're trying to change the law, to propose a law to Parliament to enable emergency aid. And Parliament could pass this law in a special session this summer. So this doesn't sound like immediately. But there's help coming. The Zurich government releases 500,000 franken for Blatten, and the canton of Luzerne has given emergency aid to Blatten. And city of Burgdorf, for example, they're not big cities, but 35,000 franken. I mean, I think they will get this done, and I think they will get help for these people. And in terms of reconstruction, the answers are not easy. What the government has said in this press conference today, it's about a longer term measures and reconstruction. There's no easy answer. Depopulation of the valley is not an option. That's what they said. So the first phase of rebuilding, they said, involves considering locations where the village could be rebuilt. And then the next step is concrete implementation, such as building zones in the concerned area. So we will see. In the meantime, guys, there's more villages in Switzerland that have a similar problem. Watch out the video in the end screen about Kandersteg. Is that going to be the next Blatten? The mountain looks even scarier than the one in Blatten. And there's already in other sides and from different sides, that village is already getting landslides and rock falls. And there's way more residents in there. Blatten, we had 300 evacuated residents, and in this area over 1,200 residents. And by the way, on this press conference, the officials said it was a miracle that only one person was lost and not more. They did a great job. So stay with this, stay on the pulse with Silky. You have to subscribe, and if you want to support the channel, guys, leave this video a like. If you want to buy me a coffee, go to my buymeacoffee.com/silky site. You can leave me a message there if you buy me a coffee, and I can answer with a video message. You can video me back and we can actually see each other. I think it's a nice way to connect with my community, with my viewers, because I'm speaking to you all the time, but I can't see you. So yeah, it's great. Hope to see you there. Stay safe, guys. Be prepared and check out the videos in the end screen. Bye-bye.